Hey, we're back. It's your girl, Dr. Brandye. Come on in here, come on in. It is time for the Life Love Libido Show. And I know I'm late. I've been late all week. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I've been rushing trying to get down here to the car because I have a teenager. And when I'm talking about sex and pleasure and things like that, she gets a little weirded out. So I have decided that I would do the shows down in the car, and then I get to talk about whatever I want to talk about. I don't have to worry about her popping her head out of her room like, "Mom," because she does that all the time. So that's why we're in the car. That's why it takes me a minute because I had to put on my coat. It's cold now. All these things. So thank you for your grace. Thank you for allowing me to come and hang out with you. And I see we got Dr. Jaquel here with us. Thank you so much. She said she likes the topic title. Me too, girl. Me too. Because, when we think about self-care, sex is not typically what we think about. So, I'm bringing some different topics to the forefront so we can have some good discussions, because that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the show. So, yeah. So we'll talk about it. Even though it's not Talk About It Tuesday, but we'll still talk about it. Okay? All right, cool. So, if you are here for the first time, or if you're just here joining us live, say hey. Dr. Jaquel, I see you. Thank you for the thumbs up and all that stuff too. Thanks for coming on. But if you are watching live, say hi. If you are catching this on the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments so I know that you're here. I always love to hang out with everyone and see what it is, what's going on. Definitely, if there's any comments or questions, you can throw those into that comment section as well. But so we're going to talk about sex as self-care tonight. And before we get started, I want to introduce myself, especially if there's any new people who are catching this. You want to know who is giving you the information, because that's part of how you vet it and know if it's good information, right? Right. So I'm Dr. Brandye. I am a board certified OBGYN. I am an Amazon #1 best-selling author of my book, My Oh My, A Committed Woman's Guide to Getting the Great Sex She Deserves. And I am your sex and pleasure coach. And I teach women how to feel good in and out of the bedroom and how to get their sexy back. Thank you, Dr. Jaquel, for tagging some folks in the comments. Yeah, tag people, share, start a watch party if you want. This is the opportunity for you to get some education and get some information that you may not get normally. Like, even if you go to the OBGYN, not all OBGYNs are comfortable, first and foremost, comfortable talking about this subject. Number two, they may not even have this information because we weren't taught that. We are the specialists for all the womanly parts, but when we were in our residency and all that stuff, they didn't teach us any of this. Hey, Dr. Lisa, thanks for jumping on tonight. So good to see you. So depending on the OBGYN that you go to, they may not even have this information. And literally, like in medical school and residency, they talk to us about how we talk to patients about their sexual history with respect to sexually transmitted infections and pregnancy, and whether you didn't want to be pregnant or you wanted to be pregnant. And that's about it. No one was really having these conversations about sex and pleasure and what that looked like for a woman. So I am excited all the time to come and talk about these things. And so tonight's topic is sex as self-care. So before we jump into how that is, Lisa said, that was it, girl. I hear you. That was all. I want to know, what do you think of when you think of self-care? Like, what kinds of activities do you think about? Definitely, I think about like the manis and the pedis. Although I don't usually get manicures all that often. Every once in a while I get a manicure. But my pedicures before COVID, that was my jam. Like, okay, every 2 weeks I'm gonna go get my nail. It was, it was on and popping, and I'll get the little design on it. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I miss my pre-COVID pedicures. Dr. Jaquel said the spa. Ooh, yeah. I didn't go to the spa that often though. I have really sensitive skin, so I have to be careful with where I go and the stuff that they use. But yeah, the spa is nice. That's nice. I went to this one spa when I was in Sedona. Ooh, that was an amazing experience. It was good. But yeah, the spa is a good one. What else? What else would you consider self-care? I know a lot of times, and like some of my friends, I have friends who are like massage therapists and stuff, and they're like, people always think about, manicures and pedicures and going to the spa and maybe massage, but not really. So massage is one of them. Dr. Jaquel said, I miss Sedona. Me too, man. It was nice. It was nice. Dr. Lisa says, spending time with loved ones for me is a form of self-care. That is a great form of self-care. Dr. Jaquel said, meditation and exercise. And she asked, which spa? You know what? I got to look at my pictures. I forgot the name of the spa. I got to look at my pictures. I'll let you know. But I forgot. It was like 2 years ago that I went. I forgot the name of it. So I have to look. Yeah, so meditation is a great form of self-care. Exercise is a great form of self-care too. I like those. I like all of those. For me, self-care for me, I am what you would call an introvert. And so for me, self-care is being aware of how much time I'm spending interacting with the world and how much time I'm spending interacting and spending time with myself. Like, I have to spend time with myself so I can process my thoughts, get things together, get myself together, get my life before I go out into the world and talk to people and interact. And so for me, self-care is literally scheduling time into my schedule to be by myself. So I like to think about self-care as whatever things that you do that light you up and that pour into your soul. It's like nourishment for your soul. That's what self-care is. And I would like to elevate in everybody's mind the thought that sex can be that self-care, that pouring into your soul, that nourishment of your soul. And for some people, that is just a foreign concept. It's like, really? What? How? Why? When? Like, I don't even understand. Like, mind blown. Like, how can that be self-care and how can it be nourishing? Well, we talk a lot about, if you've been on my show before, I talk a lot about the benefits of good sex and good orgasms. Because just because you're having sex doesn't mean that it's good sex. And just because you're having sex doesn't mean that you're having orgasms and having good orgasms. So we make that distinction. You're having good sex and good orgasms. There are some benefits to that. Overall, just your sense of well-being. I like to think about it like, if you're getting good sex, if you're having good sex, if you're having good orgasms, everything is right with the world. Like, it's just like, oh, okay, that's what happened. Oh, okay, yeah, it'll be fine. I'm good. I'm still fine. It's still good. Like, you have this sense of, yeah, no matter what happens, barring major stuff like somebody dying or something like that, like, everything is right with the world. So that's one of the major benefits of good sex and good orgasms. Another benefit is that it decreases your stress levels. And that has some significant effects on other systems in your body, other processes in your body. If you are looking to try to figure out how you can decrease your stress levels, aside from meditation and exercise, because those are important things to do too, maybe consider sex. Now, if your partner is the source of your stress, then that means you got to get some counseling and do some things so that you can resolve that conflict. And then, you can do some things like make up sex and have fun that way. But sex is a great form of stress relief. So then some other things: decreases your blood pressure, decreases your heart rate, which decreases the stress on your heart, so you're living longer because your heart is not being stressed as much. And it's a form of exercise too. So if you're especially if you're doing things like, you're not just laying there and waiting and looking at your imaginary watch on your wrist, like, when is this gonna be over? If you're actually involved in the sexual activity. And don't get me started if you're on top, if you're doing the cowgirl or the reverse cowgirl position, that takes some work. You working the clock, that takes some work. You burning some calories, so you're exercising too. So those are some of the benefits of good sex and good orgasms. And like I said, it helps you to live longer. It makes you look younger. Your face, you have a glow about you. It does so many wonderful things. And so that's why I think it should be elevated to the level of self-care, because it literally changes the trajectory, and it can change the trajectory of your life and how you see the world. So if we're talking about sex as self-care, usually when we talk about self-care things and, taking care of your body, we talk about, how often you should do it, for how long you should do it, and those kinds of things. Well, with sex and with orgasm, I would say at the very least twice a week. It doesn't have to be every day, because sometimes, life gets crazy. You got other stuff that you're doing, but at least twice a week, if you can get that in. If not, once a week is good. I think they did a study a little bit ago, and the range of how often people were having sex, so I think they looked at like 20,000 couples or something like that, and they asked them how often they were having sex, and the range was 0 to like 4 or 5 times a month. And so, but the majority of them were like 0, 1 a month. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not how this is supposed to be. So what they found, because they looked at the numbers and they said, okay, for the couples who identified themselves as being happy, they said they were happy couples, they were having sex at least once a week, most of the time twice a week. So with that being said, that's kind of the sweet spot, I think, for you to experience the benefits of good sex and good orgasms. So at least twice a week, give or take, depending on what's happening that week and, all the things. So the next piece is, you're having good sex and having good orgasms. You're doing it, twice a week. And last night we talked about, when we were on Talk About It Tuesday, we talked about how many orgasms can a woman have in an 8-hour period, because I just wanted to see what you guys thought and what you knew, because there was another study that came out, and this one was specifically looking at women and orgasm, and they wanted to know how long it took from start to finish to get to one orgasm, and then they wanted to see how long from that first orgasm to the second orgasm, because they were looking at multiple orgasms. They were looking at orgasms in general, and they were looking at multiple orgasms. So what they found was that from stimulation, the start of stimulation to first orgasm was about 11-12 minutes, and then each subsequent orgasm after that, you had the orgasm but you kept stimulating, each subsequent orgasm was took 3 or 4 minutes, and then you had another one. So with that kind of logic, like if you have an episode and you do, 3 or 4 rounds, you could have at least 5 good orgasms in 30 minutes. At least 5. So we were looking at the numbers and calculating and all this stuff, and we were saying, okay, we have an episode, you stimulate, then you stimulate again. If we do 2 per session, then in an 8-hour period, you potentially could have about 64 orgasms. So there's a lot of orgasms. Now, that's a lot of work. Like I said yesterday, you have to have snacks and water, maybe some pain relievers just in case you get some cramps and some things. You got to make sure you train for that. You can't just jump in and be like, all right, we're going to do 64 orgasms tonight. Nah, you got to build up to that. Don't let that number make you think that you can just go and do that. You got to be careful. But yeah, so that's what we were talking about yesterday. Dr. Shaquille said, LOL, snacks and water. I'm just saying, if you're going to be there for 8 hours, you might want to have some snacks. You might want to have some water. Oh, hey, Dr. Erica, thanks for jumping on. So good to see you tonight. So yeah, so you could have a wonderful experience in 5 minutes. You could have a wonderful experience in 3 hours. It's totally up to you, what you want the experience to be and how intense and how involved you want it to be, because there's different types of orgasms that are available to you. You can have the kind of explosive, quickie kind of orgasm. You can have that slow, almost like a slow burn kind of an orgasm. There's just kind of, it's not necessarily the fireworks, you see Jesus kind of deal, but it is, your whole body just feels warm and tingly, and, you feel like you have reached that climax without it being, all these fireworks and lights and noise and things like that. So, there's different kinds of orgasms. There's not just one way to orgasm and one experience of orgasm. There are multiple things that can happen. So, Elvie said marathoning. That's right. You just like you train for a marathon, you'd have to train for something like that. 8 hours worth of orgasms. Yes. So, thank you, Elvie, for joining us tonight. So glad that you are here as well. So yeah, so sex is self-care. I think that it in addition to having just those benefits that we talked about physically, it also, helps mentally in terms of giving you that sense of well-being. It helps emotionally, especially if you are having partnered sex, with giving you a stronger sense of connection to your partner. But even if you're not having partnered sex, if you don't have a partner right now and you are engaging in what I like to call self-play or solo play, you still get those same benefits from having orgasms. So, you don't, even if you're not partnered up, if you're not booed up yet, it is cuffing season, but if you're not booed up yet, you can still experience the benefits of sex and orgasm, and you can still actually use this as a form of self-care. And so, you got to make sure you get enough sleep, make sure you get enough water, make sure you're exercising. Those are, the typical things that we think of when we say, okay, we got to take care of ourselves. And then, don't sleep on sex. And just so you know, there is a connection between sleep and sex. So if you are not getting enough sleep, that tends to make sex go kind of down the priority list. Elvie said, I am too young for that, but willing to learn. Well, Elvie, how old? Well, don't tell me how old you are. I don't. If you are under the age of 18, though, you should probably jump off of this, because this is not for you. If you're under 18. But yeah, so In terms of sleep and sex, if you're not getting enough sleep, it has a bunch of effects on your sex drive, but the main thing is you will just be too tired. You're like, I'm too tired. And if you had to put the scales up and it's like sex, sleep, you're like, I'm going to sleep. But conversely, if you are not having good sex, you may be missing out on some of the deep sleep, what we call REM sleep. So rapid eye movement sleep, REM. And that's the sleep that's important for you in terms of learning and memories and things like that. So you may be doing yourself a disservice in terms of that. There was actually a study that I was looking at the other day that talked about how if you are having good sex, it actually can keep your mental faculties going and keep them doing what they need to do, right? So memory wise, as well as just cognitive functioning. So just your ability to put words together, to answer questions and do all those things. So even though we tend to just stuff sex in that, oh, it's just a physical thing, it's a physical act, and that's it, it actually has some major benefits to our lives. So that's why I get excited when I talk about sex. Mostly because I know that in addition to just, okay, insert tab A in slot B, there is definitely some benefits to good sex and good orgasms. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up our show tonight, but definitely if you have any questions, you can throw those into the comment section. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Elvie. I hope if you're under 18, you jumped off of this. Thank you, Dr. Jaquel, Dr. Erica, Dr. Lisa for jumping on and hanging out with us. I think I saw Charles, who gave me some thumbs up as well. So thank you for listening in. And before we end, I just want to let you know that for the next hour, I am offering that if you would like access to my course, Stop Faking It, The Secret to Amazing Orgasms, you can get access to that course for $1. $1 for the next hour. The course itself gives you everything that you need to know to have amazing orgasms. So if you go to if you go to the link that's in the comments, actually, okay, I don't know who this Rajan person is, but I'm gonna need them to stop. But if you go to the link in the comments, you can get the course for $1 for the next hour. But there's a caveat to that. If you take the course, you've got to give me a testimonial. You got to tell me what you think of the course. Now, I know that it's a great course, but I want to hear what you have to say. So go get the course for $1 for the next hour. That's it. Then we got to shut it down. Okay? Then you got to pay the regular price, which is not bad either, but you guys are here with me, you're hanging, and I want you to know what we got. All right. So I'm going to get out of here, but it was good hanging with you guys. I hope you were taking in those nuggets and you understand why sex is a form of self-care and why it's important for you, for your vitality, for your health, for your overall sense of well-being. And if you have any questions, you can always throw those in the comment section. You can private message me as well. And I hope that you get the course and you give me your feedback, because I love to hear from you. And otherwise, I'm going to get out of here. That you know who I am. I'm Dr. Brandye. board certified OBGYN, Amazon #1 best-selling author, and your sex and pleasure coach. And I teach women how to feel good in and out of the bedroom and how to get your sexy back. And I'll see you guys on Friday night for Dr. Brandye After Dark. We'll be talking at 8:30. All right, I'll see you then. Bye.